Welcome, dear listeners. Let us dive into January 1979. After exploring Japan, we now cross the Pacific Ocean to immerse ourselves in the American world of arcade gaming. It is through the pages of Playmeter magazine, a true reference for operators and distributors, that we discover the reality of the industry in the United States. Here, the focus is firmly on business. Costs, returns, machine placement, and profitability are at the center of concern. This isn't just, a trip down memory lane. We're looking at a really pivotal moment. It's like a snapshot from 46 years ago where the industry was grappling with some serious economic challenges, but also just buzzing with incredible innovation.
Exactly. And this particular edition of Playmeter, the one from January 15th, 1979, it gives us a really raw, operator-centric view.
Mhm.
It's less about the flashy lights and sounds, and much more about the spreadsheets and the bottom line. It really shows what it took to survive and thrive back then.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the operator's toolkit, navigating those economic headwinds. The editor and publisher, Ralph C. Lally II, he sets a pretty serious tone, called 1979 another difficult year, mentioning inflationary problems and spiraling costs. Sounds a bit grim.
Well, it wasn't exactly defeatist, more like a strong dose of realism. Lally's core message was basically prepare for the worst.
Right.
He advised operators to set realistic goals. Get this, he suggested aiming for a 15 to 20% revenue increase just to stay ahead of an expected 10% inflation rate.
Wow, just to tread water, essentially.
Pretty much. This wasn't just about making more money. It was a proactive defense,
Okay.
protecting their existing business from those economic pressures. The key insight, I think, is that the successful operators weren't just hoping for the best. They were, rigorous realists, preparing, using data.
And that preparation involves some very specific strategies, right? And not just wishful thinking.
Absolutely. His plan of action, as he called it, covered everything. Developing new locations, upgrading the good ones, cutting the ones that weren't pulling their weight,
Makes sense.
better service, negotiating better commission deals, even considering higher play prices, which was probably controversial, and being really careful with buying new equipment.
And the record keeping. He really emphasized that.
Oh, he hammered that home. You needed to know the average earnings of each pinball, each jukebox, each video game, and for each location on your route. That level of data, he argued, was absolutely essential. No more flying blind.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. You mentioned careful equipment purchases.
Mm.
The magazine also had this piece by Charles Ross on depreciation. Now, that sounds like accounting homework, but it seems vital here. It's not just the sticker price, is it?
Not even close. And Rice knew this firsthand. He was an operator and a college instructor. He really stressed that the actual cost of a machine includes the purchase price plus everything else to get it earning. Freight, sales tax, installation.
All those extras add up.
They do. Then there's salvage value, what you think you can get back when you're done with it. And crucially, its useful life isn't how long it physically lasts, but how long it's useful to the operator. Could be way shorter.
So the depreciable cost is the initial cost minus that salvage value.
Exactly. That's the total amount you can write off as an expense over its useful life. But, not all ways of writing it off are equal, especially for arcade ops.
Ah, okay, so there are different methods. What did Ross recommend?
Well, he pointed out the straight line method is easiest. You just deduct the same amount each year. But he strongly advised against it for arcade games.
Why is that?
Seems simple.
Because arcade games don't earn evenly. They make
Yeah.
most of their money when they're brand new, right? And then, boom, a new game comes out and yours is suddenly old news. Obsolescence is brutal in this business. Straight line doesn't reflect that reality.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
He recommended accelerated methods. Things like the sum of the year's digits, SYD, or declining balance methods. These let you take bigger depreciation deductions in the early years, which matches when the game is actually earning more.
Precisely. It reflects the higher income generation when it's new, and it accounts for that rapid obsolescence and the fact that maintenance costs tend to go up as the machine ages.
Can you give an example? Like, how much difference does it make?
Sure. He used an example. A new pinball costs $1,520, maybe has a 5-year useful life, and $200 salvage value. With SYD, you depreciate $440 in the first year. With straight line, only $264. That's a big difference in your taxable income early on.
Wow, yeah. And he said these accelerated methods also track the actual market value better.
That was another key point. It gives operators a more realistic picture of what their assets are actually worth if they need to sell or trade them. Super important for managing your business finances.
All right, so we've got operators tightening their belts, tracking every quarter, using smart accounting. Oh, but the industry wasn't just about individual operators, right? Playmeter's mailbox section showed some bigger battles brewing. Tell us about the jukebox copyright fight.
Oh yeah, this was heating up. It was a clash between the Amusement and Music Operators Association, the AMOA, and the Copyright Royalty Tribunal, or CRT.
The CRT.
That's a government agency.
Federal agency, yeah.
Yeah.
Their job was to figure out how to split up the royalty money collected from jukeboxes among the groups that represent songwriters and publishers like ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI.
Okay, so where's the conflict?
Well, the CRT made this ruling back in September 78 that really ticked off the operators. It required them to hand over lists of all their jukebox locations to stay compliant.
Oof, I can see why they wouldn't like that. That's basically their customer list, right? Confidential stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
AMOA fought back hard. They called it confidential business info and argued that forcing them to disclose it was undue governmental interference and harassment.
So why did the CRT want the lists?
According to the CRT chairman, Thomas Brennan, it was ASCAP pushing for it. ASCAP held the rights to a lot of older songs, the golden oldies, you know.
They worried that just looking at current music charts wouldn't give them their fair share because those older hits were still getting played on jukeboxes. They wanted the location list to track it better.
Interesting. But not everyone agreed.
Nope. BMI, which had more current hits on the charts, actually sided with AMO. They figured the charts favored them, so they didn't want the location lists either. AMO even went further, questioning the constitutionality of the CRT itself, arguing it violated operators' rights.
So, a real legal mess. But what did operators have to do in the meantime? Could they just ignore it?
No, they were still expected to comply. If they didn't, they risked losing their licenses and facing copyright infringement lawsuits. Big stakes.
It really raises that question, doesn't it? How do you balance government regulation, which might be needed for fairness, like ASCAP argued, with protecting a business's private information?
It's a classic tension, and it makes you think, for you listening, how that balance plays out today in different industries, especially with data privacy being such a huge topic.
Absolutely. Okay, moving beyond legal fights, Playmeter was also involved in creating industry events, not just reporting on them.
Yeah, this was interesting. They announced their own conference and trade show planned for spring 1980 in New Orleans.
Why start their own show? Weren't there already big ones like AMOA?
There were, but Playmeter did surveys and found strong demand, especially from operators. Over 70% of operators wanted it. They felt there was a need for a show focused more on education seminars, workshops, even technical training, and they planned to move it to a different city each year to reach more people.
Smart. Taking the show to the operators.
Right, a real commitment to supporting their core readership.
Now, for something a little different, I saw this anecdote about a pro basketball player crediting arcades. Get this.
Yes. Leonard Truck Robinson, an NBA All-Star forward, he was quoted saying coin-op games actually helped his basketball skills.
Seriously.
He said he preferred hitting the arcades during airport layovers instead of the snack bars. Why? Because, in his words, the eye-hand coordination I develop from playing the machines helps to improve my game.
Wow. That's quite an endorsement. Eye-hand coordination from playing like Space Invaders, maybe.
Or whatever was hot in '79. He even linked it back to his shooting touch in high school. Pretty cool connection.
Definitely. Okay, let's hop across the pond. London was gearing up for its big trade show, the ATE. How did that compare to the U.S. shows?
The Amusement Trades Exhibition, yeah. It was Europe's biggest coin-op show. A key difference was it was more of a distributor show. You'd see distributors showing multiple lines of machines together, whereas AMOA in the U.S. was more manufacturer-focused, with each company having its own big booth.
And they had gambling machines there too, right?
They did. Gaming machines were legal in England, so that was a regular feature of ATE, unlike the U.S. shows at the time. But it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Oh, what were the complaints?
Well, the timing wasn't great for international visitors smack in the middle of winter. And the venue. Oh boy, Alexandra Palace. Or Alley Pally.
Doesn't sound luxurious.
Far from it. Playmeter called it a crumbling Victorian edifice with terrible heating. Imagine attendees from sunny California showing up to this drafty old place. Real culture shock, apparently.
So why not move it?
They talked about moving it to Birmingham, which had better facilities. But the exhibitors pushed back. They wanted to stay in London because it drew the international crowd, so the organizers were kind of stuck.
Stuck between a cold venue and demanding exhibitors? Sounds familiar. What else was happening on the manufacturing distribution front? Lots of activity.
Oh, definitely. The industry was buzzing. Wurlitzer, the jukebox giant, held its big distributor meeting over in West Berlin to show off their 79 line. They boasted they had more models than all other major jukebox makers combined.
Dominant.
Very. And Wika Corp, the parts supplier, put out this monster 400-page catalog, over 10,000 parts listed. If you needed to fix a machine, that was your Bible.
Essential for operators.
Absolutely. We also saw distribution deals being made, like Stan Russo Inc. getting the exclusive for Row AMI jukeboxes in Southern California. Shows how important those regional networks were. And Stern Electronics was pumping out new pinballs Nugent, named after the rock star Ted Nugent, plus prototypes like Dracula and Genesis. Always something new. But there were also, some serious corporate battles happening. Bally Manufacturing was fighting a proposed regulation in New Jersey.
The casino connection. What was the issue?
New Jersey's Casino Control Commission wanted to limit how many slot machines a casino could buy from a single manufacturer. Bally saw this as totally unconstitutional, a restraint of trade. They were ready to fight it hard. Shows how big the stakes were getting in the casino supply market.
And they were also getting sued.
Yeah, by Magavox over patent infringement. Bally kind of brushed it off in the press, saying the potential cost was insignificant, like maybe $30,000 or $40,000, but still legal headaches. On a lighter note, Bally was teaming up with Playboy Enterprises for a huge promotion for their new Playboy pinball machine.
Makes sense. Big license.
Huge. They had playmates appearing at trade shows, a big feature in Playboy magazine itself, radio contests in major cities, real cross-promotional power.
What about other areas? Amusement parks.
Yeah, Amico Marketing International reported a big jump in orders for park equipment, partly because some countries were loosening import restrictions, seeing amusement parks as part of tourism development.
And technology was advancing even in jukeboxes.
Definitely. Rock Olo is actually running training schools for service technicians on their new Mystic jukebox. It had advanced computerized features, microprocessors, even jukebox repair was getting high-tech. Things were changing fast.
Okay, let's shift focus back to the games themselves. Ralph Lally's Playmeter Plays the Games report what were the hot new video and specialty games operators were looking at.
Lally really tried to give operators unbiased info here because there were so many new games hitting the market and not all were winners. In what they called video-themed games, you saw efforts to move beyond just simple shooting or Pong.
Like sports.
Exactly. Meadows had Gridiron, an American football game with trackball controls. Exidy came out with Ripcord, a parachute game where you actually pulled a cord trying for that unique physical interaction.
Oh.
Sega had Secret Base, a two-player strategic dogfighting game. And Namco, licensed through Allied Leisure, offered Clay Champ, a skeet shooting game, trying to find niches beyond the usual space shooters.
And paddle games, like breakout-style games, they were still around. I thought maybe they'd faded.
Still kicking. Lally noted they remain popular and an accepted form of entertainment. Namco, this time licensed via Gremlin, had GB, which was sort of a video pinball hybrid using paddles.
Interesting blend.
And Vector Beam had Scramble, a two-player paddle game, but with opposing playfields and two balls bouncing around. So still some innovation happening even in that established genre.
What about the really unusual stuff, the specialty games?
Americoin had a couple. Tug-O-War, a two-player button masher with a fun, old-timey theme, and Killer Bees, basically a reskin of their earlier Mole Hunter. But the real eye-popper was probably Sega's Grand Prix 4th. It was this massive, enclosed slot car racetrack you controlled remotely. It even had a little rescue vehicle you could activate.
Wow, that sounds huge and expensive.
Exactly what Playmeter said. Immense and extravagant. A big attraction, but you needed deep pockets and a lot of floor space. And Atari jumped into the giant pinball game with Hercules, almost as big as a pool table, clearly aimed at competing with Bally's rumored, but never produced, Bigfoot pinball.
Hercules. I remember that one. Giant cue ball-sized pinball. So with this flood of games, how did operators decide? We heard about tracking earnings, but what about just player satisfaction? Leigh Palmer's Confessions of a Two-Year-Old touched on this.
Yeah, Palmer's piece was great. He was a smaller operator, just 2 years in the business, hence the title. His big takeaway: the most profitable machines were always the newest or flashiest. They were the ones where, quote, the customer felt gave him his quarter's worth of fun.
So value for money, basically. Fun value.
Exactly. He argued that giving players a little extra moment or two of pleasure, maybe an extra ball, an easier free game setting, wasn't just being nice. It was good business. It flew in the face of the attitude he saw from some operators, which was basically give him as little as possible.
And he connected that directly to practical things like less vandalism.
He did. He figured if players felt ripped off, they got frustrated, and that led to them banging on machines, causing breakdowns, which cost operators real money, especially with expensive parts like IC chips back then.
Makes sense. Keep the players happy, keep the machines running.
And keep the location owner happy too. Palmer pointed out the owner is the one who gets the complaints from grumpy players, so those little adjustments like setting the game for 5 balls instead of 3 or offering a free game on match were worth their weight in gold for maintaining good relationships.
And players are getting smarter too, aren't they?
Yeah, he warned operators that the old excuse, "that's the way they came from the factory," wouldn't work anymore. Players knew pinball machines could be adjusted. Transparency and fairness were becoming more important.
This really leads into the whole strategy of location, location, location. Gene Beely's article, The Art of Picking Locations, must have been crucial reading.
Right.
What were the experts saying?
Oh, this was the core of the business for many. John Doherty, a consultant, put it bluntly, "My game is locations," his mantra. "The key is to find traffic pure people, people, people."
Just sheer volume.
Volume was key, but also the type of traffic. Hank Tronick from C.A. Robinson talked about the value of transient traffic, a constant stream of new faces. He used Knott's Berry Farm as an example, where a new game could be a huge hit for 90 days just because the novelty hadn't worn off for the constantly changing crowd.
So fresh eyes mean longer earning potential for a game.
Right. Operator Nancy Carlin shared her specific formula. Look for places with lots of kids, high traffic, reasonably well-off neighborhood, but maybe not too rich, good parking, near fast food or record stores.
That's quite a checklist. Any places to avoid.
She advised steering clear of shops that had problems with shoplifting because the games could easily become a scapegoat if things went missing.
Smart. And Doherty mentioned working with mall owners.
Yeah, he suggested trying to build relationships, maybe even joint ventures, but he also threw in a dose of reality, warning that the whole game business is out of whack right now. Why? Overpriced machines and landlords charging insane rents. Some operators were paying 50% or even more of their gross just for the space.
50%. That cuts deep into already tight margins.
Exactly. Finding that perfect high-traffic location often came with a very steep price tag.
Okay, let's switch gears to the pinball guru, Roger C. Sharp. He reviewed a new trend, sit-down and cocktail table pinball machines. How did those stack up?
Sharp noted there were a lot of these popping up, even new companies dedicated just to making them. They fit into places where a traditional upright wouldn't, like bars or lounges. He insisted on judging them fairly on their own merits.
So any standouts?
His top pick was Game Plan's Start Trip. He liked the layout. The features drop targets, spinners, 5x scoring. Mirka's Lucky Draw was second, a nice basic design with decent flippers. Allied Leisure's Hearts and Spades was also pretty good.
But not all were hits.
Definitely not. He really disliked Allied's Getaway because it had an automatic ball shooter. He felt strongly, you just can't take away that initial start from the player. That plunge is part of pinball.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He also thought the shaker ball feature in Allied's Flame of Athens was just a totally distracting and unnecessary gimmick. Others, like Atari's Monza or Valia Spectra 4, had design flaws or just felt clunky. Midway's Rotation 8 was interesting, though the whole cabinet rotated. Unique idea.
Okay, now for the main event. The three heavies, as Sharp called them. The big, new, upright pinballs everyone was buzzing about for 1979. What made them winners in his book?
He gave all three his top rating, 4 stars, called them winners all. It seems a winning formula involved engaging play, some innovative features, and really strong sensory appeal. Sound and lights were becoming huge.
All right, let's break them down. First up, Williams's Flash.
Sharp called Flash, literally, the flashiest of games. He said it marked a new era in the emphasis of sound in pinball. The way it used sound cascading sounds and flashing lights when you hit targets made it incredibly exciting. He loved the playfield design too, especially how it used memory for bonus multipliers. The graphics were eye-catching, though maybe needed a bit more detail.
Sound and light show becoming key. Next, Bally's Playboy.
The power of licensing. Featuring Hugh Hefner and Playmates, Sharp described it as luscious to look at as well as fun to play. He praised the playfield targets, the bunny and Playmate targets, and a cool super bonus possibility if you timed your drain right. It had familiar Bally elements but with new touches, plus, quote, new Bally tunes and sound effects. Polish and a popular theme.
And finally, Gottlieb's Charlie's Angels, another big license.
Yet tied directly to the hit TV show. Sharp said it offered some good play for the skill player who loves drop targets. He highlighted features like bonus multipliers up to 5x and a countdown feature for potentially infinite bonus points. He felt Gottlieb focused more on solid gameplay balance than pure razzmatazz, even though the graphics, using deep purples and oranges, weren't super action-packed. Strong core gameplay was still paramount for Gottlieb.
Wow. Flash, Playboy, Charlie's Angels. What a lineup to kick off 1979 pinball. Okay, summing up. What a fascinating look inside the American arcade world of January '79.
It really was. From inflation worries and complex accounting like depreciation, to legal fights over jukebox royalties, the high-stakes game of finding locations, and of course the constant push for new, exciting games, it was a tough but incredibly dynamic business.
You really see that blend of hard-nosed business strategy and trying to capture that magic, that quarter's worth of fun, as Lee Palmer put it.
Exactly. Success wasn't just about having the hottest game. It was about making it profitable, keeping it working, placing it smartly, and navigating all those external pressures, all while technology was changing under their feet.
So looking back at this snapshot from 46 years ago, what's the lasting thought for us?
Well, it really makes you think, doesn't it? In today's entertainment world, where technology and business models change arguably even faster, think streaming, mobile gaming, VR, how do we still strike that balance between innovation and profit on one side and delivering genuine, lasting enjoyment and value to the customer on the other? It feels like the fundamental question hasn't really changed that much at all.